People said he had it all: mansions, private jets, and power. But under all that, he was just lonely. I never thought a girl like me with a normal life and a big heart would change a billionaire's world forever. But love, it doesn't care about money. Hi, I'm Mia. And this is the story of how I, a simple black woman with nothing but honesty and love, ended up flipping the heart of a man who had everything except real connection. If you've ever believed love can beat money, like this video, and subscribe for more real stories like mine. I'm Mia, just a regular black girl from Atlanta, mid-20s, heart full of stories, and hands always covered in book dust. I work at this small, cozy bookstore on the corner of Peachtree Street. It's not much, but it's mine. My little world of worn pages, quiet mornings, and the scent of old paper that somehow feels like home. I've never been the type to chase money or flashy things. I don't dream in designer bags or luxury cars. I dream in connection, laughter that doesn't feel forced, eyes that look at me like I matter. Real, honest love, the kind that doesn't come with a receipt. Growing up, I watched people trade feelings for fame, loyalty for clout, but I always believed that love wasn't something you buy or fake, it was something you build. I stayed grounded, even when it felt like everyone around me was trying to impress the world. I just wanted someone to impress me with truth, not dollars. So I stayed in my little world, helping customers find new stories, sipping tea on my lunch breaks, and waiting. Not for a prince, just for someone real. I never thought that someone would walk through my door so soon. It was a rainy Thursday afternoon, grey skies, soft thunder in the distance, the kind of day that makes most people stay inside. But I love days like that. The bookstore feels extra cozy, like it's hugging you. I was wiping down the front counter when I heard the bell above the door jingle. In walked this tall man, dressed in a plain black hoodie and jeans. He looked like he didn't belong, too quiet, too careful. Most people rush in, grab what they need and leave, but not him. He paused, looked around like he hadn't been in a place like this in years. He gave me a little nod and walked toward the fiction section. A few minutes later, he came up to me holding The Alchemist. I smiled. Good choice. He just said, "Is it really?" I've never read it. Heard it changes people. I laughed. Only if you let it. That was our first conversation. Short, simple, but something about him stuck with me. He didn't look at me like most men do. There was a softness in his eyes, a kind of sadness too. He came back the next day, and the next, always asking about books but staying longer each time. We'd talk about life, purpose, dreams. It was easy, like we weren't strangers at all. At first I didn't know who he was, no flashy car, no bodyguards, just a man who seemed lost in a world that expected him to always know the way. It wasn't until I Googled his name, after he left his credit card behind one day, that I found out the truth. He wasn't just anyone. He was Elias Carter, a billionaire. And somehow he was sitting across from me. After I found out who he really was, Elias Carter, tech billionaire, Forbes list type, I didn't know how to act. For a second, I thought maybe I should start treating him differently. I mean, billionaires don't exactly hang around bookstore girls, right? But then I remembered how he looked at me, how we laughed, how he listened. Not once did he ever act like he was above me. He didn't flex, didn't brag. He asked me about my favorite books, my childhood, my dreams. He'd sit for hours sipping tea, just talking. Who does that when they own private jets? I never brought up his money, never asked about his companies. I acted like I didn't know. And maybe that's why he kept coming back. Maybe I was the only person in his life who didn't want something from him. One day, we sat in the corner nook, his favorite spot, and he said, "You ever feel like everyone sees your title but not your soul?" I just nodded, and that's when I realized Elias wasn't lonely because he didn't have people. He was lonely because no one saw him. So I kept showing up, as me, fully, no pretending, no performing. And slowly, he started letting his walls down. That's when I met the real Elias, not the billionaire, but the man. The more Elias opened up, the more I saw how broken he really was. Not in a dramatic Hollywood way, but in small, quiet ways that only someone paying attention could notice. He once told me, "I've been in love 5 times, but I think only once was it real, and she left when the money stopped for a moment." That hit me hard. He explained how people had always loved the lifestyle he gave, not the man he was. Women smiled for the cameras, played the perfect girlfriend, but behind closed doors, they treated him like a transaction, like he was a walking bank account, not a human being. I remember asking him, "So why keep trying?" He shrugged and said, "Because I want someone to love me for who I am, not what I have." And that's when I understood all the money in the world couldn't fill the kind of emptiness that comes from being surrounded by fake love. He had learned to keep people at arm's length, smile in public, hurt in private. But with me, he never had to perform. We'd eat street tacos in the park, watch movies on my old laptop, talk about things that had nothing to do with money. It felt like he could breathe around me, like he was safe. And that made me realize I wasn't falling for the billionaire. I was falling for the man who'd been starving for real love his whole life and had finally found someone who saw him. It was a Thursday evening, and the rain was tapping gently against the windows of the bookstore again. Funny how so many of our moments happened in the rain. Elias showed up just before closing, no suit, no driver, just him. He looked tired. Not physically, but soul-tired. I locked the doors early, turned the closed sign around, and made us both some tea. He sat in his usual corner, and for the first time, he didn't say much. Just stared out the window like he was somewhere else entirely. After a long silence, he finally spoke. "Do you ever wonder if people would still care about you if you lost everything?" I looked at him and said, "I care about you right now. That's what matters." And that's when it happened. He broke. This man, this powerful, wealthy, respected man, let the tears fall. Not loud, not messy, just quiet, steady and raw. He told me about his mother, who died before he made his first million, about the pressure to always be strong, about how sometimes he wanted to disappear and see who would actually come looking. I didn't interrupt. I didn't try to fix him. I just held his hand and let him feel. That night, he didn't talk like a billionaire. He talked like a man who'd been carrying the weight of the world on his back for years, and finally found a shoulder to lean on. And in that moment, I knew. This wasn't just a connection, it was love, quietly blooming in the safety of tea. The deeper we got into each other, the louder the outside world became. People started to notice Elias coming around more often. The staff at the bookstore whispered. Some of my friends gave me that look, the one that says, "Girl, are you serious?" But they don't say it out loud. One even asked me straight up, "You sure you're not just a phase for him?" It stung, not because I believed them, but because I knew they never would have questioned it if he were just a regular man. And his world? It was worse. His assistant once called me a distraction. One of his exes sent him screenshots of my Instagram, trying to say I wasn't polished enough for his image. I didn't wear designer, I didn't pose on yachts. I wasn't the trophy woman they thought he deserved, but Elias never flinched. "I don't need anyone else to understand," he told me once. "They've never seen what I see in you." Still, it was hard. I'd be lying if I said the noise didn't get to me sometimes. I had nights where I cried, not because I doubted him, but because I hated being reduced to a stereotype. Like a black woman couldn't be loved just because, not for clout, not for money, not for status. But through all of it, I stayed true to me, soft, grounded, and honest. Because at the end of the day, I wasn't trying to fit into his world. I was showing him what real love looked like in men. I'll never forget the day he said, "Pack a bag, we're going to Paris." At first I laughed. I thought he was joking. Me? Paris? The farthest I'd been was Miami. but he was serious. "You've shown me your world," he said. "Now let me show you mine." I was nervous, not about the flight or the place, but about being that girl, the one who gets flown across the world by a billionaire. I didn't want it to feel like a transaction. I didn't want to lose the realness we had. But the moment we landed, I knew this trip wasn't about luxury. It was about us. He didn't book the biggest hotel. We stayed in a cozy apartment in Montmartre with creaky floors and a little balcony. We walked everywhere, hand in hand. No security, no flash. Just two people exploring love in a city built for it. We ate crepes on the street, danced under the Eiffel Tower at midnight, and got caught in the rain without umbrellas. And neither of us cared. That night, as we stood soaking wet, laughing like kids, he looked at me and whispered, "You make everything feel new." I kissed him, slow, soft, full of all the feelings I hadn't said yet. And for the first time, I didn't feel like a girl who lucked out. I felt like a woman who was chosen, not for my looks, not for status, but for my heart. And in that city of lights, he didn't shine because of his money. He glowed because he was finally in love. I thought everything was perfect until it wasn't. One night, out of nowhere, Elias pulled away. Texts slowed down, calls got shorter, his visits stopped altogether. At first I thought maybe he was just busy, but my gut told me something was off. A few days later, he finally called. His voice was distant, cold even. He said someone from his inner circle had shown him proof that I was with him for the wrong reasons. Screenshots, twisted stories, old photos taken out of context. It felt like a slap in the face. After everything we'd built, after all the real moments, we were back to square one. Doubt. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I just said, "If you can't trust me by now, then I'm not the one for you." And I meant it. I hung up that call with a lump in my throat, but my pride intact, because I knew who I was. I knew the love I gave was real. If he couldn't see it anymore, then maybe he never did. And just like that, it felt like I had lost him, right when I thought I finally had him. 3 days passed. I didn't hear from Elias, not a text, not a call, just silence. I tried to stay strong. I went to work, smiled at customers, stocked shelves. But inside, I was hurting. Not because he left, but because he didn't fight to stay. Then, on the 4th day, just as I was closing the shop, I heard the bell ring. I turned, and there he was, standing at the door, soaked from the rain, holding the biggest bouquet of sunflowers I had ever seen. He walked straight up to me, eyes full of regret, and said, "I messed up." In front of a couple customers and my co-worker, he said it loud. "I let other people's fears make me doubt the one person who never gave me a single reason to question her." Tears welled up in my eyes. Not because of the apology, but because he finally showed up with his full heart. He told me he cut off the people who tried to sabotage what we had. He said he realized that real love doesn't come with proof, it comes with trust. "I don't care if the whole world doubts you," he whispered. "I won't make that mistake again." I hugged him, right there in the middle of the bookstore. And for the first time, he felt light. Like a man who had finally let go of the armor he'd worn his whole life. That night, we didn't need fancy dinners or Paris lights. We just needed each other, honest, flawed, forgiven. And from that moment on, I knew this wasn't just a love story. This was our love story, the kind that doesn't fold when things get hard, but fights harder when it matters most. It's been almost a year since that day in the bookstore. A lot has changed, and yet somehow everything feels the same, in the best way. Elias is still a billionaire. The world still watches him. But when he comes home, he's just Elias, my partner, my best friend, the man who kisses my forehead before bed and still asks me what book he should read next. And me. I still work at the bookstore, part-time now, just enough to keep me grounded. I kept the same apartment, the same routines, Because the life I had before him wasn't something I needed to escape. It's what made me me. And that's the version of me he fell in love with. We take things slow, no flashy headlines, no rushed promises. Just love in the everyday moments. Sometimes we walk hand in hand through quiet streets, and I think about how crazy it is that love found us in a little bookstore on a rainy day. He had everything money could buy, but I gave him something it never could: peace, truth, home. And somehow, in loving him, I found those things for myself too. We're not perfect, but we're real, and that's more than enough. I never planned to fall in love with a billionaire. I just wanted someone who saw me for me. Turns out he wanted the same. If this story touched your heart, share it. Love is still real, no matter who you are. Subscribe for more stories of real hearts and unexpected love.